Section number 17 of Old-Fashioned Fairy Tales. This is the LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Old-Fashioned Fairy Tales by Juliana Ewing. The Magician Turned Mischief-Maker. There was once a wicked magician who prospered and did much evil for many years. But there came a day when Vengeance, disguised as a blind beggar, overtook him and outwitted him, and stole his magic wand. With this he had been accustomed to turn those who offended him into any shape he pleased, and now that he had lost it he could only transform himself. As Vengeance was returning to his place, he passed through a village, the inhabitants of which had formerly lived in a great terror of the magician, and told them of the downfall of his power. But they only said, "Blind beggars have long tongues. One must not believe all one hears," and shrugged their shoulders and left him. Then Vengeance waved the wand and said, "As you have doubted me, distress each other," and so departed. By and by he came to another village and told the news. But here the villagers were full of delight, and made a feast, and put the blind beggar in the place of honor, who, when he departed, said, "As you have done by me, deal with each other always," and went on to the next village. In this place he was received with even warmer welcome, and when the feast was over, the people brought him to the bridge which led out of the village, and gave him a guide dog to help him on his way. Then the blind beggar waved his wand once more and said, "Those who are so good to strangers must needs be good to each other. But that nothing may be wanting to the peace of this place, I grant to the beasts and birds in it that they may understand the language of men." Then he broke the wand in pieces and threw it into the stream, and when the people turned their heads back again from watching the bits as they floated away, the blind beggar was gone. Meanwhile the magician was wild with rage at the loss of his wand, for all his pleasure was to do harm and hurt. But when he came to himself he said, "One can do a good deal of harm with his tongue. I will turn Mischief-Maker, and when the place is too hot to hold me, I can escape in what form I please." Then he came to the first village where Vengeance had gone before, and here he lived for a year and a day in various disguises, and he made more misery with his tongue than he had ever accomplished in any other year with his magic wand, for every one disturbed his neighbor and was ready to believe ill of him. So parents disowned their children, and husband and wives parted, and lovers broke faith, and servants and masters disagreed, and old friends became bitter enemies, till at last the place was intolerable even to the magician, and he changed himself into a cockchafer and flew to the next village, where Vengeance had gone before. Here also he dwelt for a year and a day, and then he left it because he could do no harm. For those who loved each other trusted each other, and the magician made mischief in vain. In one of his disguises he was detected, and only escaped with his life from the enraged villagers by changing himself into a cockchafer and flying on to the next place, where Vengeance had gone before. In this village he made less mischief than in the first, and more than in the second. And he exercised all his heart, and changed his disguises constantly, but the dogs knew him under all. One dog, the oldest dog in the place, was keeping watch over the miller's house when he saw the magician approaching in the disguise of an old woman. "Do you see that old witch?" said he to the sparrows, who were picking up stray bits of grain in the yard. "With her evil tongue she is parting my master's daughter and the finest young fellow in the countryside." She puts lies and truth together with more skill than you patch moth and feathers to build nests. And when she is asked where she heard this or that, she says, "A little bird told me so." "We never told her," said the sparrows indignantly, "and if we had your strength, Master Keeper, she should not malign us long." "I believe you are right," said Master Keeper. "Of what avail it is that we have learned the language of men if we do not help them to the utmost of our powers? She shall torment my young mistress no more." Saying which he flew upon the disguised magician as he entered the gate, and would have torn him limb from limb, but that the Mischief-Maker changed himself as before into a cockafar and flew hastily from the village. And thus he might doubtless have escaped to do yet farther harm, had not three cock-sparrows overtaken him just before he crossed the bridge. From three sides they hemmed him in, crying, "Which of us told you? Which of us told you? Which of us told you?" and pecked him to pieces before he could transform himself again. After which peace and prosperity befell all the neighborhood. End of section number 17. Read by Ovni.